Hi, I'm Daniel Lucas, and welcome to Book 101 Review. Book 101 is about the books that I read for the last 40 years, and today I have my special guest. A business coach and helping business leaders build their dream teams. And of course, a debut author too, and the author of the book, Master Your First Job. No other than Mr. Jacob Karnes.
Thanks for having me, Daniel.
Welcome on Book 101, Mr. Jacob. And can you please introduce more about yourself that I missed?
Yeah, I'm a author, business coach. I spent 10 years working for Chick-fil-A where I really learned the art of what it looks like to build and develop a good team. I've seen when other businesses don't do that well. I've seen businesses that do it very well and have a lot of success. So Chick-fil-A was my first job. Started there when I was 16 years old. And after 10 years of turning that first job into a very meaningful career opportunity and starting my own business, I'm very passionate about helping younger people who are behind in their journey, or where I was 12, 15 years ago, to do that well. And so I wrote my debut book, Master Your First Job, to help first-time employees go from their first day to their first promotion. So that's the book. More about me. I'm a huge college football fan. I have a college football podcast that I've done this is our 7th football season doing that. I'm a specialty coffee nerd and connoisseur. My family and I love going to Disney. It's a little bit about me.
Mr. Jacob Karnes, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. Hoping for more and more empowering books like this to come. So tell us, what is the most common and jarring cultural shock recent graduates experiences when they transition from the academic world to their first professional job?
Yeah, good question. I think that one is that not everyone is as smart or as advanced as they think they are. In that you enter the workplace and you're like, oh, these are just people, right? These people have flaws just like I do. These people started out in the first job just like I am right now. And so I think it can be intimidating when you enter the workforce and you're in a meeting with a bunch of people who are title wise very much your senior, and yeah, they've got more experience than you do, but they're just people. They got an education just like you did. They've got experience just like you do, and you can contribute early on in your career. You don't have to wait to have the title to do that. And so I think that was jarring to me, was that, oh, these people that have a VP title are listening to me and listening to my input. And that was kind of shocking to me. I expected to kind of be the quiet person in the corner whenever I entered my corporate career. So I think that would be one thing that would be an encouragement, is that you have a voice. They're people too. Be respectful, but you can speak up and your opinion can be very valued.
How does the mindset required to succeed in a job differ fundamentally from the mindset that made someone a successful student?
I think there's some similarities in that there's no getting around working hard and putting in effort. I think that's the same. I think with school, it's extremely clear about the result you need, right? Let's just be honest. A lot of education's about getting the test scores to move on and move past. It's not really about learning in a lot of cases. Work is very different. Yes, you have results, but if you don't learn from the experiences of when you mess up or when you're successful at work, then you won't be able to replicate either the same success you had, or you won't be able to fix the problems to have success next time. So I think the attention to detail and process orientation is much more important in the workplace than it ever was in school.
Mr. Jacob, in school, smart often means having the right answers. How is intelligence defined and demonstrated differently in the workplace?
Yeah, good question. I think intelligence is the mix of smart, book smart, and experience, right? And I think intelligence also emotional intelligence is in that too, right? Like, can you read people? At the end of the day, whenever we do anything, work or not related, we're working with other human beings. And so the way in which we approach that work has to have that in mind, right? Like, human beings are not just numbers on a computer, on a spreadsheet that they're ones and zeros, we hit enter and it outputs a result. You have to go through humans to get stuff done, which is why I love working with business owners to build their dream team, because they have to go through people to accomplish results. You can't just manhandle it, tell people to do something once and expect it to be done perfectly. So I think intelligence is keeping that in mind, using both what you've learned, book smart, your experience you have, and learning how to work with other humans. I think that's the difference in smart and intelligent.
On strategy and execution, what are the three most important goals a newly hired should aim to accomplish in their 90 days to set themselves up for a long-term success?
I'll talk about one first. One is building a personal brand that is strong. And I talk about this in chapter 5 of my book. A brand, it's a word that's thrown around a lot. And when we think about companies, think about brands, but at the end of the day, a brand is how you are perceived, right? Like, your brand is what other people think of you. And so can you control that? I would say you can a little bit, can't fully control it. But if you're intentional about building a personal brand you're proud of, then you can begin to control how you are perceived. And so an example of this would be, if you want to be perceived as someone, for me personally, I want to be perceived as someone who has a high standard of excellence and who is extremely efficient in the work I do. So I know that about myself. That's how I want to be perceived, right? So how do I connect this? This is who I am and how I want to be seen, to people actually seeing me that way. That's how to build a personal brand. So I take actions to do this, right? I'm going to make sure I'm extremely prompt with emails that I send. I'm going to make sure my emails that I send don't have grammatical errors, right? I'm going to make sure I'm on time to meetings. If I make a presentation, I'm going to make sure it has the company colors and company fonts, because I believe anything worth doing deserves to be done to a high standard. So I'm going to make sure any work that I'm doing, that I'm putting my name on, is done to a high standard. That's how I connect a personal value of mine, which is to have a high standard of excellence, to my brand, which is how I am perceived. And then you invite in accountability. You ask others, hey, you tell them, I want to be known as someone who has a high standard of excellence. Can you let me know whenever I'm not meeting that standard? And can you let me know whenever I am meeting that standard? And you invite in the accountability, which leads you to a second one, which is feedback. Can you learn to give and receive feedback as a gift early on in your career? And I think this is led with vulnerability. I write about this in chapter 7 of my book, giving and receiving feedback as a gift. And I think there's a method in which to do this well. Feedback is not negative. Feedback is simply a response to an action. And so if you welcome that into your work, you're going to grow a lot in your career. So both when you do something well and when you do something unwell, you welcome in feedback. And I talk about a great method to do that in the book. Lastly, I'll say be curious. I don't know how many people you've talked to who are doing the same exact thing they did when they first started working in their career. I would guess not a lot. And that's because within your life and career and experience, you might try something at some point and you're like, oh, you know what? I love doing this new thing a lot more than the thing before. And so early on in your career, allow yourself to be curious, ask questions about work that might sound intriguing or unintriguing, and try new things. But curiosity is the foundation to build that on, because you might try something new that could really shape the rest of your life and career that you end up loving and enjoying, and find that work that connects you to your purpose.
Yes, people, be curious always. Who knows?
Absolutely.
Who knows? You will be the next Einstein.
That's right.
Mr. Jacob, what does managing up effectively look like for a brand new employee? How can they build a strong relationship with their manager without seeming presumptuous?
Yeah, I think one, treating them as a human, right? So, and I would say this for the leader as well. You need to care about them beyond the four walls of the business. And there's a way to do that without sounding sleazy. You need to genuinely care about how they're doing, right? If find out their likes and interests. Do they have kids? Do their kids play sports? Do they have a hobby they really enjoy? Ask them about that. And don't ask them from a position of, I want to build this relationship so that I can get something out of it, right? Be the person who gives in the relationship and give by caring. Make them feel known, make them feel understood. I would say give them feedback, right? Tell them how they're doing. Be honest with them about how you're doing and feeling in your workplace. And whenever you do that, you welcome that from the other side. So accept feedback well from them. Ask really good questions to define how you're doing. If you're not getting clear feedback about your performance, ask leading questions so that you get better feedback about your performance. If you're interested in a promotion to grow, about a raise, ask them, hey, what do I need to do to start showing you that I'm worthy of a promotion or a raise? Like, what are you looking for that next step? And then do those things well before you get that raise or promotion. I think there's no getting around hard work. I think that is the way to grow and to move up and to do things well. So find out those exact qualities, find out how stuff is measured, and perform well in those areas, and then ask for that next step. That's what I would say.
On relationships and networking, Mr. Jacob, what is the best way for a new employee to ask senior colleague for a casual coffee chat without being awkward or wasting their time?
Best way to ask for it, or best way to actually have that meeting?
Either way.
Yeah. So, I worked in a business where this was very welcomed. So I think get a feeler out for what's welcomed and what's not. Even if it's not, though, I'll say be very clear about your request, right? I think it's hard for people to say yes if it's just, hey, I'd love 30 minutes of your time for a coffee. I know that's not welcomed in every work environment, but if you know a little bit about the person, and let's say it's someone high up, and this is the senior vice president of marketing, right? Let's say it's a C-suite, it's a CMO in your company, and maybe you're working in IT, but you got a minor in marketing. You're curious about, maybe I want to have a career in marketing later on. This is my first foot in the door, right? So be curious about your request. Hey, and be specific. Hi, I'm this. I know your role is in marketing, and you've experienced A, B, C, and D. Like, you've done your research, right? Like, I know who I'm reaching out to. I'm being very specific about, I kind of know your experience. I'd love to get coffee with you and learn about A, B, and C, because I think I want to have a future in marketing. The more specific you can be, the easier it is for someone to say yes. Because I've gotten these emails before, or someone just says, I'd love 30 minutes of your time, and I'm willing to give it, but I'm still going into it wondering, okay, what do they want? Versus if someone's like, hey, I've thought about starting my own coaching business. I've thought about writing a book. I'd love to get 30 minutes of your time for you to walk me through your process and tell me what your outline was like, how long it took you, what to expect for writing a book. That's a much easier yes for me, because they've been specific. They know my experience. I know what they're looking for. Now I'm looking forward to that meeting. So I think as specific as you can be with the request, and then be prepared for the meeting. Have questions. Don't go into it with, hey, thanks for doing this, and you have no idea what to talk about. Go in with questions. Be willing to share your stuff. Be curious, and be there to learn and not to be sleazy and get something from them, right? Like, be curious, be there to learn, not to take more than you asked for.
Mr. Jacob, what is the right way to achieve critical feedback without getting defensive, and how can you use it to accelerate your growth?
Yeah, so I have a WIN feedback method, WIN, and that is identify what you observed if you're giving feedback, illustrate why it's important, and navigate the plan forward. If you're not receiving feedback that way, you can ask questions to get it that way, right? So if your manager comes to you and says, you did a bad job on this, that's not helpful for you. It's not helpful for them. But how can you turn this into a growth experience that is actually helpful? You ask better questions. You say, okay, thank you for the feedback. So now you've kind of, you've broken down the defenses. I'm welcoming this, right? I'm not going to be defensive. I'm welcoming it. Hey, in what area did I underperform? Right? What specifically did I do wrong? And don't ask it in a way that's aggressive either. And if you know what it was, don't ask it and be sarcastic about it. But if you genuinely had no idea, hey, what did I do wrong? that meeting yesterday, I apologize. Where in the meeting did I underperform? The slides were out of order. You were unprepared. Okay. Hey, you can ask questions to get to illustrate. Maybe you know why it's important. Hey, this meeting was with important stakeholders and, you underperformed. Okay. What can I do better next time? Where can I be better? So now you've gotten actually helpful feedback versus you started with, this is a bad job, right? Now you've gotten specifics about where it was underperformed, what you can do better, and you have an understanding of where to move forward, and you've probably disarmed your boss in the process. I'll say the same thing for positive feedback, though. I'd say someone says, great job in that meeting yesterday. I think one of the worst things you can have is accidental success, because then you don't know how to replicate it. You pat yourself on the back and say, I did a great job, but you have no idea what you did well or how you did it well. So you ask those questions. Hey, I felt like I did good in the meeting yesterday. Can you tell me where you saw, where I showed up the best? And it's, hey, the way you looked at people in the eyes, you were prepared to all answers to questions. Everyone walked away with the information they needed. Perfect. And maybe you know why it's important. If not, you can ask questions around what made this important. And then lastly, hey, next time, what can I do better? Or do I just do the same thing next time? What can I do to make sure I replicate the same success? The same exact process, but you're asking the same questions, both for positive and negative feedback. So that's how you can welcome feedback in order to grow.
Very well said, Mr. Jacob. Truly, truly empowering.
Thank you.
On productivity and self-management, what are the common hidden drains on a new employee's time and energy, and how can they protect themselves?
Common drains on time and energy?
Yes, please.
Yeah, I think this is different for every person, right? Everyone's a little different personality-wise. Everyone has work that is draining to them and not draining to others. I love Patrick Lencioni's The 6 Type of Working Genius for this. So I think identifying what type of work drains you is really important to figure out early on in your career. And that doesn't mean you need to make that type of work not drain you, but it's really important to be aware about it. Chapter 4 in my book, I talk about how to fight apathy, because what you're getting at is what this leads to. This draining is it leads to apathy, right? And apathy is not necessarily overtly negative emotion. It's really this lack of emotion that you get. And so apathy, how to fight this in the workplace. One, I think you need to find community in your workplace. Misery loves company, and joy does too. Look, it's good to have people to vent with at work. It's good to have people to celebrate success with at work. I firmly believe that as humans, we are meant to be in community. Viktor Frankl talks about that in his book, Man's Search for Meaning. And so community is a great way to fight apathy when you feel drained in the workplace. 2, finding a project to work on. And this is where I talk about curiosity as well in the book is, can you ask a question? If your work is draining and mundane, you're doing the same thing over and over again, it's worth asking the question, hey, I saw this person doing this project over here, or this work did interest me. Is that something I could do? Or be honest. Hey, I'm kind of drained right now at work. Is there a side project I could do? Might be different and interesting. Having a project to work on is a great way to fight apathy. And I also think finding purpose in your work. So finding a way to align who you are with the work you're doing. And that comes through relationships with other people. That comes through finding out a lot through self-discovery. Having a really clear why and personal values for you, and then connecting that to your work. And so finding a place that you to work for, or a job to do that aligns with that for you personally.
Mr. Jacob, what are the tangible, observable behaviors for a first-year employee who's already on the fast track to a promotion or raise?
I think they're action-oriented. They don't wait to take action. I firmly believe the best leaders in the world, one of the things they have in common is they're all action-oriented. They're not afraid to do. Success or failure, they're going to do something. I think about some of the world's best visionaries, Einstein, Thomas Edison, all the way through. You can go to Steve Jobs, Elon Musk. Talk about these big tech companies today where, SpaceX has blown up probably 10,000 rockets before they got one to go up and be successful, right? And now they launch a bunch. So all these leaders are very action oriented. They try again, and eventually they find success because they take action. Say another one is, go ahead.
No, go ahead, mister.
They're curious, which leads to them taking action, right? They don't hit a wall and say, I guess that was it. They're asking the question of, could I get around the wall? Is there a way to go through it? Can I go over it? Can I go under it? Can I go around it? Curiosity. I think they accept feedback, which we've talked about. They take advantage of unexpected opportunities, right? So I worked for Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A's founder, Truett Cathy, has had a 24-hour diner-style restaurant. So think, burgers, fries, breakfast, breakfast all day. This classic diner-style restaurant, and it was in Atlanta, where Delta is headquartered. Delta had ordered chicken for their in-flight meals that ended up being too big for the in-flight meals, and so they called Truett's restaurant to see if he wanted to buy all the chicken at a heavily discounted rate. That was an unexpected opportunity. He bought the chicken at a discounted rate and started experimenting with some of his mom's old recipes for fried chicken. What came out of that was the world's first chicken sandwich, and now a $25 billion brand called Chick-fil-A today that's very popular in the U.S. and expanding internationally now as well. And again, that was an unexpected opportunity that he took advantage of. So I think that curiosity, taking action, and taking advantage of unexpected opportunities are things that are common among very successful people.
Yes, people try and try and try until you succeed.
That's right.
And if you could only advise a new grad to master one single skill in their first year, what would it be and why?
Can I give two?
Yes, definitely.
have fun would be my one. I know it's not, it's like, I want something to do, but I'll start with have fun. You only get your life and your journey one time. Don't waste it working so hard that you don't lose sight of what's most important along the way. Chapter 10 of my book is have fun. And it's the most important thing I learned early on in my career. Is I look back now at some of my early work and I'm like, I had a blast and I met some of the best friends I have still today at work. And so don't forget to have fun. Don't lose sight of that. If you're having fun, then I'll say the one thing I would do is find ways to take action. Be curious. I think that's my advice to every new employee is be curious about your work. Dare to be curious. Walt Disney is someone who inspires me as far as curiosity goes. His team of Imagineers is what he called them. His brains behind the theme parks that he put together. They had a saying. He said, around here, we don't sit still for very long. We keep moving forward, trying new things, opening new doors because we're curious. And curiosity leads us down new paths. I think that if you want to go down a new path, a new and exciting path for your life or for your career, dare to be curious enough to look at a path and try to go down one way and not knowing what's down the path, right? So dare to be curious in your career. Have fun. That's what I would say.
Have fun, people. Have fun and do what is good for you and what is your passion. How important is to find a peer group or mentor outside to your immediate team or company for unbiased advice and support?
I think it's crucially important. And Daniel, I think this is important for humanity in general. I think that we have an innate desire to be in community. I agree with Viktor Frankl on that. So finding community both in and outside of work, people that, maybe share some sort of like an interest with you or people that you like to be around who can encourage you whenever you get down, who can challenge you to be better. Whether that's, a group of people that are friends, a mentor as well. I have a mentor and a coach in my life who helps me grow, who challenges me to be better, who encourages me, who gives me a pat on the back when things are going well. So I think community in general is crucially important for human beings. So finding that both in and outside of work is extremely important.
Mr. Jacob, before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please listen to my other podcast, people. My other podcast, because my abstract essay is already in 5th season, abstract poetry in 2nd season, and my book 101 review in 5th season too. Comedy 101 in 2nd season, and my food 101 in 5th season as well. Geography 101 in 4th season, and my baby podcast, Mental Health 101 and Law 101. Love Letters in 3rd season, and Movie 101 review and Music 101 in 4th season, and Science 101 and Sex 101 in its 1st season. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcasts. So, Mr. Jacob, is the primary purpose of the first job to build a resume, to learn, to earn, or to build a network? How should a new grad prioritize this?
That is a great question. A little bit of everything. Here's what I'll say is I think the primary role of a first job is to build a foundation, right? Like you can't build a mansion or also like a whatever you want to do with your life and have a very successful career. You can't build the mansion until you have a really solid foundation. And I think what my book goes through is 10 ways to build a very solid foundation. And so these are, people are going to call them soft skills. I think they're not just soft skills. I think they're hard skills and things that you have to learn and experience to do it well. But I think when you take advantage of unexpected opportunities, when you dare to be curious, when you fight apathy, when you build a personal brand, when you learn to give and receive feedback as a gift, I think networking is a part of that. Building relationships at work where you give and not just take. I think that's part of curiosity, but you have to build a solid foundation where you're not sleazy, you're not asking for more than you give. You're building genuine relationships with people. I think that's definitely a part of it. But building these skills that will translate at every role, right? So like building your personal brand, I think is so crucial because people are going to have an opinion of you. And a lot of the times it's your first impression, right? So having in your mind, this is who I am. This is who I want to be. This is how I want to be talked about. Because at the end of the day, when people see, Daniel, your name, Daniel Lucas, on a sheet of paper, for this podcast, or they see Jacob Karnes written down on a sheet, or Jacob's on this project, people are going to have an opinion immediately about that. That is your brand. So can you build your career on the foundation of a solid personal brand, as well as all the other stuff we talked about? I think that's crucially important early on in your first job.
Mr. Jacob Karnes, thank you so much for sharing your debut book to the world, hoping for more and more empowering books like this to come. So can you please invite our listeners to support your debut book as well as your podcast or whatever projects that you're doing right now?
Yeah, if you'd love a copy of my book or know someone who would, masteryourfirstjob.com/free. I'll give you a free e-copy of the book. If you're like me and you like to highlight and dog ear the book, there's a link to buy it on there as well on Amazon. But if you want a free e-copy, masteryourfirstjob.com/free. And then, connect with me on LinkedIn, Jacob Karnes with a K. All my stuff's on there as well.
Yes, people, let's support Mr. Jacob Karnes, because if you support him, as I said, more and more empowering books like this to come. So, Mr. Jacob, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Daniel.
More to come, people. See you soon.